Do you believe that you can heal yourself? Too often we give our power away to something outside of ourselves, and rarely, if ever, trust and tap into our innate healing power and intuition. Everyone has this capability to heal in ways we never thought possible. It's your sovereign right to claim and have true health and lasting wellness. Now, here is the host of the Dr. Dolores Show, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our episode today. I'm very excited to be here, because this topic is kind of near and dear to my heart. We're going to be talking about awakening your potential, being in the present moment. How often in life are we not that? Are we like in our heads worrying about tomorrow, contemplating yesterday, trying to figure things out? Did you know that when you are in your head, you're rarely ever in the present moment? Think about that for a second. What's really a conundrum for a lot of people is that we've been programmed by our society to think that in order for us to be productive or, a fruitful member of society, we always have to be in motion. And so being in motion is like doing. So when you're constantly in doing mode, it's almost like an addiction. It's a drug. Because you're always trying to reach the next thing of what I could possibly do and thinking that this next brass ring that I grab is going to be leading me to happiness and joy. And yes, it may happen temporarily, but rarely is it ever long-lasting joy and fulfillment. Too often in our society, and I've witnessed this in healthcare, where we're always in motion, trying to make something happen, I call it pushing the proverbial boulder up a hill. That's exhausting, it's stressful. And when you're exhausted and you're stressed out, guess what happens? Your immune system gets compromised. When your immune system gets compromised, it sets you up for having some health challenges, maybe a disease, maybe something even more chronic. Yet we are in charge of our health and wellness. I'll bet you didn't know that as well. We are wired to heal ourselves. What I'm going to share with you today is talking about doing versus being. And what's really important is this. When you are in the present moment, you get to witness a lot of different things, and you are right here, right now. And I speak from experience. I've been in the healthcare industry for well over 40 years. I bridge I'm going to call it the physical with the spiritual, but the invisible with the visible. As a medical intuitive, I've been able to tap into areas where a lot of people have not been or are able to access. Those are my gifts. It's this inner knowing of what is really happening. So probably about 15 years ago for myself, I was on a trajectory to, I was doing everything that we were told to do. Okay, I'm in my 30s. I'm starting my first big entrepreneurial career, and I was definitely pushing that boulder up a hill. In fact, I looked under every rock on the pathway up the hill. And, what happened for me was, yes, I did achieve success at the cost of my health and well-being. Because what was happening is that momentum cannot sustain itself indefinitely. You need to balance it out. And so what happened for me, I created an autoimmune condition for myself in my late 30s. And what really came down the pike for me was that in order for me to move forward, I'd have to look at things and possibly create a different way of doing what I needed to do to accomplish what I wanted to do. And so what I ended up doing was learning more about being. I had been meditating pretty much my whole entire life, and I kind of fell off the wagon a little bit and realized, you know what, let me go to see if I could create a still point within myself. And so what I ended up doing was this. I decided that, for me to move forward with my life and what I wanted to accomplish as a human being and helping other people was that I needed to, number one, include myself in that, okay, because I'm just as important as everybody else. Number two is do things in a certain way so there was more balance. And number three, to feel better and not be so fatigued and tired all the time. So I would sit in meditation and I would look at things, observe as an observer. And I would get intuitive hits the more time I spent in meditation. It was like they showed me that we're in a society where we're constantly doing. We're like doing mobiles, okay? Constantly in motion. Yet the opposite is mindful and being. And so when you combine one, you need both. It's not one side versus the other. It's the blending of the two. So what they showed me was my higher self showed me an infinity sign, okay, on its side. And an infinity sign is on the side figure of 8. The infinity sign is symbolic of constant motion from moving from pole to pole, okay? And what they were showing me, when we are doing, we get lopsided on one pole and that whole flow shuts down. That was a huge, huge epiphany for me, because it was just like, oh my God. It's just like, so I was out of balance within myself. That's what they were showing me. And, I'm doing these things, but I know society is doing it, experiencing this as well. So I decided to trust that intuition. And I decided, okay, so let me just do the opposite and sit in contemplation and meditation. And so that's when they were able to show me a different way. So when you are in the other pole of that infinity sign, okay, you are more of being. You're in your body, okay? You're actually present. You're in the present moment, right here, right now. It's like this is where you could get that inspiration, that divine download from your higher self. And with that information, you go into doing and then coming back to being. So what I learned from this whole this whole experience in my life was there's got to be a balance between doing and being. And it's like an intermarriage, a blending, an infinity sign that's constantly in motion, ebbing and flowing. And when we're focusing from that point, we are getting our divine download, getting the information that we need, and going into divine doing. And I know that's a real challenge for some people, because a lot of people are so stuck in the doing part that they think, oh my God, I can't stop. It's just like, I can't get off the ride. It's just like it keeps going. And what I'm here to tell you, that you can get off that ride. You have to be aware, first of all, that you're on that ride, okay? Self-awareness is a big deal. Many of us, are just unconscious or just going on automatic or autopilot, as I call it. When we're able to move through things with a lot more ease and grace, this is where the magic happens. So, going back to my story was that on a daily basis, I would go sit. The first thing I would do to start my day is I would go sit in meditation. That was my what I resonated with. And what I found was, and I joke about this now, is like I felt like I was having a board meeting with the CEO of me. I mean, because it was like I was there, my higher self was there, and I was gathering information. I would ask questions telepathically and I would gather information. And so it was a different way of experiencing my life and a different way of creating, instead of, thinking that I had to do it a certain way and have blinders on and thinking that this is the only way that it could happen. It actually allowed me to take the blinders off and see the bigger picture of the possibilities and know where I needed to lean into. Now, I share a really funny story with people in regards to this, because people know that I'm a cat person and I've had cats my whole life. And and I'm the other thing too is I'm not a morning person. And it just so happened that one day while I was, doing this and experiencing this, I needed to take my cat Max to the vet. And Max was a very naughty boy, and you know what it's like. They know when the carrier comes out that they're going somewhere, and they will make it almost impossible for you to herd them, so to say. So the whole thing about herding cats. So what happened was I took Max to the vet, and it was like, oh, dark 30 in the morning, and I'm like, I'm ready to go back to bed. But no, as I was driving home, there was a sign for a garage sale, and I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. I felt like the car was going in that direction, and I'm like, no, 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 no. I want to go back home to go to bed. And so I finally gave in to where the car was taking me, because obviously it was important. So I went to the garage sale, and I'm thinking to myself, I should be having the garage sale. I have so much stuff. And it's like, I'm not sure why you're telling me to go here, but I'll humor you, and I'm going. So I went. I actually had to park the car 3 houses down from where the garage sale was, but I went to the garage sale, looked around, didn't find anything. But on the way back, I passed a house, and as I would pass one of the houses, the car pulled out, and it was a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in a long time. She said, "Oh my God, Dolores, I've been wanting to get in touch with you because there's a professor at one of the local universities that wants to meet you." And so she made that connection, and out of that connection, this professor was at the California Institute of Human Sciences, and I ended up teaching a class there. But also, it was on my bucket list to teach a class at Omega Institute in New York, in Rhinebeck, New York. And it just so happened that this professor spent her summers there. And so through that, I was able to speak at Rhinebeck. So what I'm saying is this: that was a fluky thing, but it's about following the flow and getting out of your own way. And if I didn't go to that garage sale, that connection might not have ever happened. So you just never know. It's just like sometimes when you're in the flow of being, you get these incredible downloads, and then you go into divine doing, and you come back, and it's the dance. You weave it back and forth. And so we're getting ready to go on our first break. I can't believe it's already here. And you are listening to the Dr. Dolores Show with myself, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, on Inspired Choices Network. When we return, we will continue to discuss about being in the present moment.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, and welcome to the Dr. Dolores Show. Today, we're talking about being in the present moment. And so before we went on break, I was sharing a story from my personal life about the importance of being in the present moment. And, like I was saying, it's like sometimes when you get out of your own way, this is where like the magic happens. So, in the work that I do, I really work with a lot of people. I coach them because I find many people are rarely in the present moment. And I could tell that because energetically I could feel that, but also when I could see the disconnect of the energy. Sometimes their head is like very, very, very large energetically, and then their body's like so constricted and close to them. So to me, that just says that they're thinking a lot and they're not probably in their body. What I find very interesting, because a lot of people know this, that I work in surgery as part of my career, and I've been an assistant surgeon for well over 30 years, and I've seen numerous patients over the years. And what I have found incredibly interesting is that when patients come to the operating room or the theater, if you want to call it that, is that, they're very anxious, they're very, they're scared. There's a lot of fear there, the fear of the unknown, and that's normal. And what I also see too is like this energy that's really around their heads. And so I do my best, because I'm there at the bedside when they are in the surgery suite. So I will, do my best energetically to pull their energy from their head down through their body, through their feet, because we know when we're in our when we're in our physical body, that's where we could be fully present. And when we're fully present, we could experience what's happening for us. And that's helpful too for your overall health and well-being. Even when you're having a surgical procedure, that's for another conversation, but it's so important to be in the present moment, because energetically you will do better in a surgery. And I know that's an extreme case, but it's just important. And so we'll probably have another talk about that down the line. But anyway, when like I said, a lot of times people have a tendency just to live in their heads. And I think this is a real funny thing too, because a lot of times in meditation, I get these downloads and hits. And, we all chose to be here on earth at this time. And, for many people, that's a concept that's kind of hard to grasp, but that indeed it's true. There's different studies that we can look at of people who have studied before life processes, planning your destiny, so to say, in this lifetime, pre-birth planning. Believe it or not, there is such a thing. And, what happens for some people is this: they want to come to earth. You need to have a physical body to come to earth. You need to have a physical body to experience emotions on earth, believe it or not. But yet, when people are born, they're given a dose of amnesia. They come into this incarnation and they start to feel, they dip their toe in, they're like, oh, hell no. And so they move back up into their head and they're like, nope, I'm going to compartmentalize this and not experience anything. So they get stuck in their head trying to react to control what is happening to them. So that is another tangent of doing. It's a distraction to get you away from being with yourself. A lot of times we do that. What was really interesting, we all experience a pandemic, okay? And I always thought this was interesting because remember, I have been doing my work and my own personal growth work with this for many years prior to the pandemic, okay, where I spent a lot of time with myself just being and allowing and experiencing that and then moving forward. But the pandemic really was an interesting time, okay? And, I kind of feel that on the bigger picture, this was meant to happen. And for this reason is that humanity's been on a trajectory to self-implode, basically, because they're in such doing state, okay? They are trying to make something happen. It's a force type of thing. They're in their heads. They're trying to figure something out, trying to, like I said, contemplate tomorrow, regrets about yesterday, thinking about yesterday. Rarely are they in the present moment. There's a lot of fear around things too, okay? Fear is a real interesting concept because it really keeps people stuck, okay? When you're able to feel what that is and take a step into that, when you get to the other side of it, when you take your other step, it's gone. So fear is something that I think keeps people stuck. It keeps people trapped, and it's very confining. When we look at the whole side that says doing, we are programmed in our society to pretty much continue to give, do more at the cost of our mental health and well-being. So what happened during the pandemic, how do we stop that whole momentum? Well, we had the pandemic, and you know what? For 2 weeks, everything came to a screeching halt. It was surreal. I'm still, every so often, I see pictures coming through my social media feed of what it was like in these big cities. We may never, ever see this again. I hope we never do, where you have a big city and there's nobody on the streets, no cars, no nothing. It was like surreal. Like Los Angeles, no traffic, nobody anywhere. New York City, nada, nothing. And it was an opportunity for people to get off what I call the doing mobile and reset themselves. Yes, and I agree. Driving was much nicer during the pandemic times than it is now. And it was like nature was resetting itself. Yeah, but were we doing that as well? What I found to be an interesting observation, that it was very challenging for some people to stop being in motion. Okay. And, they needed to spend time at home, but yet they were uncomfortable. They were trying to distract themselves by, okay, well, I don't want to be doing this. I want to be out doing this, that, and the other. So it was like they were trying to distract themselves from being by themselves, where this is where all the richness was. For some people, it was very challenging to be by themselves because a lot of people don't know what it's like to be by themselves and even create a relationship with themselves. which is kind of sad to some extent, because the longest relationship you're ever going to have in your life is the one you have with yourself. But yet you don't want to be with yourself, so you're just out of there, lickety split. So it was kind of sad but comical at the same time, because I was witnessing this. I know a lot of people would say to me, so how are you handling this? How are things going? I said, business as usual for me. Nothing's changed. It's just like, because I had been operating from what I'm sharing with you for many years prior to that. So I was very comfortable, being on lockdown by myself and allowing myself to experience what was happening in its full regalia. A lot of people, it was almost like they were afraid to be by themselves. And so how many times and how often in our lives that we distract ourselves from ourselves because we're just uncomfortable being with ourselves? That's a question to ponder. But yet, when we are with ourselves, this is where all the magic happens. Nobody else creates our reality for us. That's the illusion that we've been taught, to give our power away to something outside of ourselves. It doesn't work that way, guys. It really doesn't. So, let's talk about being, okay? So, being is about receptivity, allowing, receiving. It's about feeling, okay? Experiencing, feeling, and wanting to have a deeper connection. Some of the best ways to start doing that is a mindful activity. Mindful activities are anything from as structured as like formal meditation or just being out in nature. Mindful activities are anything that you do, well, there we go, doing anything that you're experiencing that takes you out of the time element where you kind of lose track of time. That's when you are in the present moment, because time really is an illusion. It's only an earth concept that we have time, but yet time is very flexible and malleable. It could stretch and it could constrict depending on what's going on. And, we're going to talk more about that when we come back from our break, because I feel that this is a great little experiment we could do. So, you know what? It's time for our second break. We're going to talk about that when we come back. You are listening to the Dr. Dolores Show, and I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino on Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we will talk more about being in the present moment and manipulating and expanding and constricting time.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, and you are listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. And today we are talking about awakening your potential and being in the present moment. And so before break, we were talking about how you could be in mindful activity and what mindful activity is. Mindful activity is anything that allows you to lose all sense of time when you're involved with it. So have you ever been someplace or so enmeshed in like reading a book that you just lose track of time and hours pass? Or maybe you're out in nature and having a good time connecting and observing things and time just flies. This is what I mean about being in the present moment. It's a timeless concept. And before break, we were talking about, time and being able to constrict and manipulate time to expand it and actually change it a little bit. So I'm just going to invite the audience to play with this. And I always tell people, check it out for yourself to see what it's like for you. Experiment with it and make it your own. I know for myself, when I moved to California 35 years ago, I lost my watch, never replaced it. I just would know innately what time it was. It was close to, I needed to be someplace at a certain time. And my mantra is I always show up on time. And I do. So I'm going to invite you just to even play with that. If you're running late, sometimes that happens, it's like whatever happens, you can't get out of the house on time. Stay to yourself. Just take a deep breath when you're in the car. I will arrive on time and see what happens, because you're going to witness probably some shifts and how we could, I want to say, mold time as it is and see how that goes. For me, a lot of times when I know I need to be someplace, I will just feel into that and know that, okay, I need to leave now. And just without looking at the clock, but it's just like, I know I need to be there at a certain time. It's like getting into the flow of the beingness. Okay. And I know that's going to be an interesting concept for a lot of people, but I would love for you guys to try that out and just let me know what you think and what your experiences are with that. You could go and reach out to me at Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com and go to my website and just go check it out, because I have a lot of interesting things that I kind of share there. And, I think that, when people are curious, it's good to experiment. So, when you're able to manipulate or control or expand time, it's like, I would almost say it's like a superpower, but it's like our innate flow of being able to allow ourselves to experience the present moment, okay? Going back to the being part of things, when we look at our society, when we look at our parents and our grandparents' generations, they did mindful activity, believe it or not. It's called knitting, crocheting, sewing, sometimes being out in nature, gardening. These were mindful activities where they just lost, all sense of time and place. When that happens, you are experiencing the present moment. When you're in the present moment, you are actually in your body, you're in your heart space. When you are in your body and in your heart space, this is where you get to experience emotions. Now, I know emotions have gotten a pretty bad rap from, society. In fact, I believe that many of us have been programmed not to feel, because what would the neighbors think? Or it's not socially accepted to feel your emotions, let alone express them. Yet it is an essential part of being a human being. We are here on earth to experience emotions, because when we experience our emotions, we get to gain wisdom and insight. And believe it or not, emotions are pockets of energy. When you don't experience your emotions, guess what happens? That energy is still there. It hasn't been expressed, so it hasn't been integrated or released. It's a pocket of energy. And if you're the type of person that doesn't experience their emotions, maybe they internalize them, they put them on the shelf for later, or they even ignore them, that energy is still there. It's like little bubbles that are in your energy field. Eventually, your energy field gets so crowded with these little bubbles of energy that they create blockages in your body. And when you create blockages in your body, guess what happens? You start having some health challenges. Okay. One thing I'm going to share with you is this. This is a personal story. And to address that whole thing about emotions. My mother, she was a product of an alcoholic household. And for her, it was anything that was painful or anything like that, the emotions, she would just suppress them. And her MO was ignore it, it'll go away. So over a lifetime for my mother would internalize her emotions. Rarely did I ever see her express them. Her MO, like I said, was ignore it, it'll go away. For her, that was working until she got later into her life, and she started getting sick probably the last year of her life, and we really didn't know what was going on. And finally, we took her to the doctor, and they had they did some surgery on her, and they opened her up, and she was riddled with pancreatic cancer. So for me, of what I know energetically, was that all those internalized emotions that were not expressed were in her physical body, and this is what she had, a blockage, and that created the problem. And when we look at not experiencing your emotions, just because sometimes we just fear that we're going to open Pandora's box and the lid will never get shut, I'm going to invite you to, when you feel something, just pull yourself back, take a deep breath, pull yourself back and just say, I'm feeling something. And you know what? And does it feel uncomfortable? Where are you feeling it in your body? That's the key. That gives you a big indication of what's going on. When you feel things, a lot of times there's a somatic response. So when we feel things in our body, when we have an emotion, I invite you to go to that emotion and just feel what's going on there. What I have found over time is that it's usually a trapped emotion that you're feeling in your physical body. When you feel that, just love it up like you would your favorite person, pet, thing, because it's a part of you that wants to be loved and acknowledged and accepted and appreciated. And when you flood that area with so much love, compassion, and appreciation, it starts to dissipate. It may travel, that somatic feeling may travel to another part of your body. If it does, follow it there, do more of the same. When you're able to embrace that and love it up, it's actually a part of you that's been disassociated from you and wants to be called back to home. That's sometimes what happens with our emotions. When we don't express them, we've given part of our soul away to that emotion, and it's trapped in another time and place. So when you're able to feel what you're feeling, you actually call back a lot of your emotional baggage, if you want to call it, and healing that as you integrate that and love and appreciate that. It's not the big scary boogeyman. It's like, sometimes you remember that the energy of an emotion is like a bubble. When you start experiencing that, you take a step forward into that bubble and start feeling that and just loving and appreciating for what it is. You're taking another step, and before you know it, you're on the other side of that, and it just dissipates the energy. When we don't experience our emotions, that energy has a tendency to get trapped in our bodies. It has to go someplace. And sometimes when it's overwhelmed and there's so much of it going on, it tips over into our physical body. And like with my mother, she created something for herself. So knowing what I know now, many years later, is that it's so important to feel. This is part of being human. This is part of having a human experience. Feeling is actually a byproduct of being in your body. You have to be in your body to feel. And a good dead giveaway for some people is this. You could tell when a person is intellectualizing their feelings, because they will say, I think I feel. And I'm like, okay, there's no I think I feel. That's like you're not feeling, you're in your head. That's a dead giveaway for me. So you could, when you speak with other people, when they talk about feelings, if you just observe how they respond to that. Sometimes it's like big taboo. Oh no, I'm not going to go down there, that boogeyman hole. It's just like, oh no, Pandora's box is going to go flying open. I'm never going to be able to sit on it and close it. It'll be so liberating when you experience that, because it's going to create such a void, meaning a space that's going to allow you more freedom, because you're no longer trying to control the emotion on a conscious or unconscious level. It's like it's come to neutrality. There's nothing to control anymore. So it's going to free up so much energetic space in your world that you'll be surprised at how it's going to allow you to connect to yourself, to your creativity, and allow you to expand and have more bandwidth to be more fully present. So when we are in being, just to recap, we're in the present moment. We are able to connect to our inner wisdom, because you have to be in your body to do that, and you're able to experience your emotions. When you start from being, get your divine download and go into divine doing, it's like you're flowing back and forth. So do what you need to do from the divine doing, go back and get some more divine being, and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I know this is an interesting concept for some people and probably something new that they never heard of. Yet, recapping back, going back to the pandemic, this was truly a gift, because if people were allowing themselves to have that reset and establish a relationship with themselves, they probably had an awakening of what we are seeing today. And we're going to talk more about that when we come back from our next break. And so you have been listening to Dolores Fazzino on the Dr. Dolores Show, and we're talking about being in the present moment. So when we return from break, we'll talk more about what we can do to stay in the present moment.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everybody. I can't believe it's, the last segment of the hour for our show today. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, and welcome to the Dr. Dolores Show. Today we are talking about Awaken Your Potential, being in the present moment. And we've talked a lot about being and doing and divine doing and divine being and manipulating time and experiencing your emotions, all key points and necessities in order to be, fully present in your body. So what I'm going to share with you briefly, maybe we could just do a little guided meditation that might help you to stay fully present in your body, okay? So I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes, not if you're driving, please, okay? You could listen to this later on the recording, but we're going to do a very short meditation. So I invite you to just take a deep breath and slowly blow it out. And take another deep breath and slowly blow it out. And take one more deep breath and slowly blow it out. And now just allow your breathing to return to its normal inhale and exhale patterning, and know that with every inhale that you make and every exhale that you take, you're just going to fall deeper and deeper into your physical body. There's nothing to do, just allow this to flow. And feel your feet upon the floor that you're standing on or sitting. And feel your bottom against the seat of the chair and your back against the back of the chair. And just allow your shoulders to relax comfortably, allowing your hands to fall in your lap. So right now, from your solar plexus, that area that's about 2 inches above your belly button, I invite you to go to that area and shrink a smaller version of yourself into that area and just feel. Just experience what's going on there and just allow it to be what it is without judging or criticizing. Allow yourself to experience. Is there a color there? Maybe not. Is there a feeling there? Maybe not. Does it feel constricted or expansive? Whatever it is, just allow it to be. So from that area, we're just going to extend and create grounding cords. We're going to actually ground in 3 different dimensions. I will guide you through this. So first of all, allow a grounding cord to move from your solar plexus down both your legs, all the way down to the bottoms of your feet, out the bottoms of your feet, through the layers of the earth, all the way down to the center of the earth where there's an anchor. And I invite you to attach that grounding cord to that anchor. Returning to your solar plexus, we're going to create another grounding cord that's going to go up through your chest, through your neck, through your head, out the top of your head, and way out into deep, dark space, where there's another anchor on a beautiful star, and I invite you to attach that to that star. What you may feel that as your energy is being pulled in 2 different directions, grounded in the earth and out in the sky, you're actually more physically present in your body than you were a moment before. So the next step is, going into the next dimension, is that from your solar plexus, move energy out to the right side of your body and beyond by 3 feet. And return to your solar plexus and move the energy to the left side of your body and beyond by 3 feet. And once again, as we anchor in the second dimension, you're actually more physically present than you were a moment before. And lastly, imagine a beautiful golden sun behind your back by 3 feet, and just allow that to move through your body, through the front of your body and beyond by 3 feet. Once you are done with that, realize that you're actually even more expanded than you were a moment before, and we've grounded in 3 dimensions. So I invite you to go back to your solar plexus and, with the curiosity of a child, just experience what's going on there. Maybe things have changed and shifted, maybe not, but allow it to be as it is. And when you're ready, I invite you to come back to your room and the place where you are and just feel the difference. Welcome back. This is actually what it feels like to be in your body and in the present moment. There's this quiet, there's this peace. Nothing really matters. It's just like you are right here, right now, enjoying what you're experiencing. For those who are more interested in this type of process or would like a copy of this, I invite you to go to my website, drdoloresfazzino.com, and you could get a copy of this for yourself. I invite you to listen to it on a daily basis, preferably when you get up in the morning and maybe when you go to bed, or other times when you feel like you're going down the rabbit hole of overwhelm and you feel like you're jumping from your body into your head. You got this. You are in control of your life. You have the right to be in the present moment, to experience all the riches that the earth has to offer you and what are your sovereign rights as a human being. There's nothing to be afraid of. You're just learning how to be with yourself and be in the present moment. If you have any questions about anything, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to connect with you, to share any information or clarify things for you. I could be reached at drdoloresfazzino.com. And just know that you are loved more than you know. And so next week on our episode, for those people who are empaths, intuitives, maybe highly sensitive people, this is a show for you, because we're going to talk about nurturing your sensitivity. As a fellow empath, intuitive, and highly sensitive person, I'm very excited to share my tools and my information with you, and I'm excited to know more about what really makes my fellow companions tick. You know, sometimes we have to go through hell and brimfire, but if we know these things, let's just make it easier for ourselves so we can all thrive and move beyond surviving. So thank you for showing up, and just remember that it's just all up to us, and love yourself enough to put yourself first and make yourself your own best friend.
Thank you for listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. Dr. Dolores returns Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, remember to be kind to yourself and create your best life. You are worth it.